Well, folks, I call this one. You can go ahead and call me Nostradamus because I said back on the campaign trail, I said if Donald Trump gets reelected, mark my words, he will try to take credit for everything that Joe Biden has done to pull this country out of the mess that Donald Trump left us in the first time. I said, watch and see, he will put his name on it. I said that in several videos leading up to the election. I said it right after the election. I remember going live and talking about it, and I said, watch and see, when he gets in there, he will take credit for these things that Joe Biden has already put in place. He will put his name on it. Lo and behold, that's exactly what he's doing. So I want to read you an article here from the New York Times, but before I do, I just want to thank everyone so much for your support here on the channel. Thank you for helping us get to 800,000 subscribers. Now we're on the road to 1 million, and I really do appreciate all of you so much for sticking with me. So it doesn't cost anything. If you like this kind of content, be sure and hit that button and help us get to 1 million. But here we go. Here's the receipt I knew this was going to happen. Anyone could see this coming. Really, folks, anyone could see this one coming because Trump is not capable of doing anything to help us himself. So he would have to ride the coattail of Joe Biden, and that's exactly what he's doing, just like I said that he would do. So this is from the New York Times. Trump tried to kill the infrastructure law, and now he's getting credit for its projects. Signs bearing Donald Trump's name have gone up at major construction projects financed by the 2021 law, which he opposed ahead of its passage. And just a reminder for all of the MAGA out there, in 2021, Joe Biden was our president. Donald Trump had just got done trying to overthrow democracy and hang Mike Pence. But Joe Biden was rolling up his sleeves going to work for this country. And just like I said, here's Trump now trying to take the credit. So in southern Connecticut, the federal government is replacing a 118-year-old bridge along America's busiest rail corridor. The $1.3 billion project was largely funded by the 2021 infrastructure law that was championed by the then President Joseph R. Biden Jr. and strongly opposed by Donald J. Trump. These days, however, motorists cruising by the construction site might be forgiven for thinking that the infamous New York developer was responsible for it all. President Donald Trump, a sign on the road now declares, rebuilding America's infrastructure. I just got to say this. The most disgusting part about Donald Trump to me is the fact that we had Barack Obama. We had the first black president in American history. And I remember at the time thinking, we did it. We elected the first black president in my lifetime, so we're going to continue to progress and we're going to continue to go forward. But instead, we got dragged back 150 years. It went completely the opposite way. And I've always said that the biggest stain on American history is the fact that we have, if you put all the presidents, if you line up those pictures, I used to have a can back when I was a kid. I got it like when I sold cookies, and the can had the presidents' faces all around the can. Or you'll have posters you can hang up in your room, and it's got all the presidents. The biggest stain to me is the fact that we have Barack Obama and then Donald Trump. And now we're going to have Joe Biden, who tried to clean it all up, and then Donald Trump taking credit for what Joe Biden did. So in recent months, a number of similar signs have popped up in front of major infrastructure projects financed by the bipartisan 2021 legislation, a $1.2 trillion package that Trump, who left office in January of that year, had passionately rallied against. He called the bill a loser for the USA and warned that the Republican lawmakers who signed on could be thrown out of office by angry primary voters. Patriots will never forget, he wrote. I just don't think that Donald Trump and a lot of these people understands that when they put something out into the world like that it's going to be there forever. When he goes on Truth Social and puts this stuff out there to see, you're always going to be able to pull back and see where he stood on something. But the thing about Donald Trump is he doesn't have to worry about it. All he has to do is just say something different and his followers will roll with it. But the signs bearing Trump's name now adorn bridge projects in Connecticut and Maryland, rail yard improvement projects in Seattle, Boston, and Philadelphia, and the replacement of a tunnel of Amtrak's route between Baltimore and Washington, according to W. Kyle Anderson, a spokesman for the company. In an email, Mr. Anderson said the new signs are a voluntary Amtrak initiative, updating outdated signage posted at the project locations. listed previously following the change in presidential administrations earlier this year. The signs note in smaller font that the projects in question are funded by the Infrastructure Investments and Job Act, the official name of the legislation that Trump tried to derail. So here it is. I mean, look at that. Seattle Rail Yard Modernization. President Donald J. Trump. And then rebuilding America's infrastructure. That was Joe Biden. That's not him. And it's bullshit. Oh, it's outdated. It's outdated, so let's update this. Bullshit. No, Joe Biden is the one that did this. Donald Trump's the one that opposed it. But still, the signs in bold MAGA red strike some as misleading. Anyone who doesn't view this as misleading needs their head examined. Okay? They really need to seek help if they don't see this for the fake news that it is. Representative Joe Courtney, a Connecticut Democrat who represents the area where the Connecticut River Bridge is being replaced, said seeing the sign with Trump's name on it is just, very odd to me. No, it's bullshit, dude. Just say it out loud. Let's take the gloves off and let's quit dancing around this, and let's just go ahead and say this is bullshit. That's what J.D. Vance said about just killing people without due process. He said he didn't give a shit what you call it. So I think we can get away with using that word. He added that bridge would have never gotten where it is today without that bill which he opposed. Exactly. It is hardly unheard of for a new administration to replace signage featuring the name of the previous president. But the 2021 infrastructure law has uncorked particularly intense debates over the granting of credit, perhaps inevitable given the size of a spending package that was roughly the size of the gross domestic product of the Netherlands. Last year, in the midst of the election season, Politico compiled a list of a number of House Republicans who voted against the bill, but went on to take credit for the projects funded by the legislation in their districts. Representative Nancy Meidas, who's currently running for governor in her home state of South Carolina, called the bill a socialist wish list, but did not protest the millions of dollars it allocated to public transit upgrades in the Charleston area. What do you want me to do? Turn my back on the low country when we get funding for public transit, she said, when asked about the apparent contradiction. And we covered those stories about her and Lauren Boebert and several different people who tried to take credit for it after it was over. But a number of infrastructure projects formerly featured signs name checking Mr. Biden, said Mr. Anderson. Those two drew backlash, he said. So, drew backlash because Biden did it? Exactly. So, in June of 2024, Senator Ted Cruz complained about them to the official special counsel, arguing that they amounted to campaign signs for Mr. Biden and thus violated the Hatch Act, which limits federal employees' political activities. But now I guarantee you Ted Cruz is somewhere talking about how wonderful this is that Trump is getting credit for this. These displays are nothing more than campaign yard signs courtesy of the American taxpayer, Cruz wrote at the time. Folks, I always say this because I want people to understand that I'm really not trying to bullshit you, okay? I barely graduated from a high school in Southeast Kentucky. I was really good in history, I'll say that. I made A's in that. I sucked at everything else. I was terrible. I barely made it. I really believe they just passed me to get me on out of their face. And all I wanted back then, I was a kid that discovered how to play a guitar, and all I wanted to do was get out of there as quick as I could and get out there and play music, and I did. By the time I was 19 years old, I was out playing in dive bars. So whatever education I have came from that school and then came from me educating myself, and I had a lot of good people along the way, like my mother and my uncle and different people who history teacher, different people who would take me under their wing and teach me things about American history and things like that. But I always try to preface by saying I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer and never claimed to be. I'm just a dude with a YouTube channel. But it's so insulting to our fucking intelligence to read this shit every day and watch these bastards just constantly expect us to jump through the hoops and roll with them. It's so sickening to me. So infrastructure questions are sensitive for Mr. Trump, who ran for president in 2016, asserting to voters that he was one of the nation's greatest master builders, promising an infrastructure rebuilding program to rival the New Deal era. Oh, God. But he never quite pulled it off. And he's not going to pull it off this time either. In fact, his administration's repeated efforts to hold an infrastructure week became a running joke during his first term. In April, 3 months after Trump began his second term, the Federal Railroad Administration stripped language from its grant agreements that required signs about projects made possible by the 2021 legislation to say they were funded by President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. The Connecticut Department of Transportation took this as a signal to remove the signs with Biden's name. The replacement of the Connecticut Bridge, which connects the towns of Old Lyme and Old Saybrook, is expected to generate up to 300 jobs. According to Mr. Courtney, the existing bridge was found to be structurally deficient in 2006. Trains must now slow down to 45 miles per hour to cross. They will be able to cross the new bridge, he said, at 70 miles an hour. At the dawn of the second Trump administration, Amtrak had a good reason to worry about its future. In March, when Elon Musk was deeply involved in slashing federal government programs, the billionaire said the company was embarrassing and should be privatized. So I think we get the point of this article, and we can go ahead and check this one off as one that we all predicted. Donald Trump will take credit for the good things that Joe Biden did to dig us out of the mess that he put us in. And all these people that sat here and strongly opposed that bill and told us it was socialism and told us it was wrong and told us it was going to bury everything are now okay with it. And everyone that accused Joe Biden of putting out campaign signs has no problem putting Donald Trump's name on a Bible and selling it. So that's the type of people that we're up against. And I know I say that a lot, but I just think we need to keep in mind the level of insanity we're dealing with here. And I do believe that years from now, when the history books get written, if we still have them, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will be trying to figure out what in the hell happened in the 2020s in America. Well, what happened was we started off with a global pandemic that a guy named Donald Trump completely dropped the ball on. And then we had a president named Joe Biden who did everything in his power to dig us out of that and to save us and to bring us back from the brink of destruction. And then America rested on its laurels and bought into a bunch of bullshit conspiracy theories. And the next thing you know, we had Donald Trump back for round two, and he appointed RFK Jr. to be in charge of our health. So I don't know if there's ever been a bigger blunder in American history than this one. But we're going to be here calling it out every step of the way. We really will be. When I look back at those pictures of the presidents all in a row, there will never in my lifetime, in anyone's lifetime, will there ever have been a bigger blunder of going from progress to dragged back 150 years to, hey, let's try to save the day and rescue this, to, hey, let's just put down the accelerator and crush American democracy. Donald Trump is absolutely the biggest stain ever on American history, and he can take credit all day long for Joe Biden's accomplishments, but he is nothing more than a bootlicker, and all he's doing now is riding Joe Biden's coattails when it comes to the good things.